Imagine for a moment a government.
Hmm.
Well, not just delivering services more efficiently, but actually doing it at a much lower cost.
Right. Using technology.
Exactly. But how do you actually achieve that?
Yeah.
Especially these, huge complex organizations, they can be pretty resistant to change.
It's a massive challenge.
So today, we're going to take a deep dive into exactly that kind of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
We're focusing on a really pivotal period within the UK government's IT landscape.
Yeah, shaped by one very influential figure.
Right. We've pulled insights from a pretty revealing interview with John Suffolk. This was done when he was the UK government's chief information officer.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also got an overview of his pretty remarkable career.
Decades of driving tech change.
Absolutely. So our mission for you today is really to unpack the strategies, the innovations, the things that led to, substantial cost reductions and better services for citizens.
Yeah, we want to reveal the practical side of large-scale digital transformation.
And hopefully offer some valuable universal lessons, things you could apply to, any organization dealing with information overload and that constant need for efficiency.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's start with the architect here, the central figure, John Suffolk.
Right.
For 5 years, starting back in June 2006, he had this dual role, Her Majesty's Government's CIO and CISO, Chief Information Officer and Chief Information Security Officer.
And the scale? It's hard to really comprehend.
It is. I mean, he was overseeing an annual IT budget of £16 billion.
15 billion.
And overseeing 50,000 IT professionals. Yep. And that's even after significant outsourcing efforts.
It's an enormous mandate, just huge. And what's really remarkable, I think, is that John Suffolk he's widely credited with driving one of the most dramatic changes across the UK public sector, certainly since tech first arrived in government.
Mm-hmm.
His real genius, perhaps, was fostering this collaboration, getting central, regional, and local government all pulling together.
Which is notoriously difficult.
Exactly. To deliver this citizen and business transformation agenda right across the UK public sector. And his influence, it didn't just stop there. He's currently the SVP and Global Cybersecurity Officer at Huawei.
Still very much in the thick of it.
Absolutely. Shows his enduring relevance. And, I mean, it's no small thing that he was voted the most influential CIO by CBS Silicon back in 2010.
Right.
And ranked in the top 5 most influential people in tech, right behind Sir Tim Berners-Lee.
Wow. Okay, so that's an incredibly impressive track record. It really suggests he's much more than just a tech leader, isn't he?
Oh, definitely. His background, you mentioned it, over 25 years in IT. Engineering, financial services.
Yeah, he held all sorts of director roles. CIO twice, customer services director, operations director, even managing director of a multi-channel $20 billion business.
That kind of breadth of experience, actually running large national businesses, that must have given him such unique insight.
You think so? The kind needed to lead these massive IT-driven transformation programs. But, leading change like that, it always faces resistance, right?
It's always.
What were some of the key obstacles, maybe internal or external, that Suffolk had to navigate?
Well, the fundamental challenge, I think, and a huge obstacle he really had to tackle head-on, was shifting these deeply ingrained habits within government.
The way things had always been done.
Precisely. For decades, the standard practice was you hire one big supplier, right? And they design, build, operate the whole computer system, monolithic.
Leads to vendor lock-in, I imagine.
Totally. And zero agility. Suffolk saw the world had changed. Social networking, online shopping. The old model just wasn't cutting it anymore. It was unsustainable.
So the mandate became?
Do more with less. Simple as that. But it wasn't just about, trimming budgets here and there.
Yeah.
It meant drastically cutting the cost of running and maintaining the basic infrastructure while at the same time delivering citizen services much, much cheaper.
Right.
It was a radical reimagining, really.
Okay, so he's got this background, this mandate. Do more with less. And a key part of that strategy revolved around this idea that was pretty revolutionary for government back then, the application store model.
Ah, yes. The App Store.
How did that concept really shift things? How did it foster genuine competition?
Well, the real insight there, I think, wasn't just creating a marketplace, though that was part of it. It was fundamentally re-architecting how government IT procurement even worked.
Oh, so?
By abstracting the underlying infrastructure. Essentially saying to suppliers, look, don't worry about the pipes, the plumbing, we'll handle that.
Yeah.
That effectively broke the stranglehold of those huge monolithic IT contracts.
Right, the ones only the giant firms could bid for.
Exactly. Suddenly, smaller, more agile, specialized companies could compete. They could focus just on solving a specific problem with their expertise.
Instead of having to build the whole system from the ground up.
Precisely. So the idea was this would spark innovation, create real competition from a wider pool of providers, and, crucially, slash the time it took to actually deliver solutions.
And the cost, presumably.
Oh, absolutely. Above all, it was a direct route to cost reduction. They figured by, rationalizing networks, consolidating data centers, and using this app store approach, they could cut running and maintenance costs by 20%.
20%, which translates to
A staggering £3 billion sterling a year.
£3 billion a year. That's transformative potential right there.
Yeah.
But implementing that kind of decentralized model, I mean, in a huge, often rigid bureaucracy,
Yeah.
how tough was that?
So incredibly challenging.
Were there big hurdles getting departments used to those big bespoke contracts to actually adopt this more modular way?
Absolutely. The biggest hurdle was probably the cultural shift. It always is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Government departments were just used to these single, large contracts with the familiar big names. There was a perceived lower risk there, even if it meant higher costs and, frankly, less innovation.
So how do you overcome that inertia?
Well, it needed strong leadership from the top, clearly, but also, crucially, demonstrating quick wins, showing early successes with smaller specific projects that proved the model actually worked.
Build momentum.
Exactly. Showcase how this new approach could deliver faster, cheaper, more tailored solutions. Build trust and show it's viable, one department at a time.
Okay, so that's the procurement shift. But beyond that, there was also this huge physical transformation happening. The cloud infrastructure.
Yeah.
Tell us about the ambition there, centralizing the UK government's entire digital backbone.
Yeah, that was another massive piece. And what's really fascinating is the collaboration involved. You had 100 people from 37 different organizations,
Wow.
all working together to design this cloud information infrastructure for the whole government.
That's quite something.
The grand plan was to consolidate the government's incredibly sprawling computing infrastructure, reducing the number of secure data centers from, well, an almost unbelievable 500.
500.
Then
Seriously?
500, down to just 12.
12. And these weren't cheap sheds, I assume.
No. Each new, highly secure data center was budgeted at $250 million to build.
Okay, consolidating 500 down to 12. The technical challenges, the organizational hurdles must have been immense. What were the expected benefits beyond just, being tidier?
Well, it wasn't just about tidiness or even just efficiency. It was about really significant savings and, importantly, much better security.
Right.
The projection was cost savings of about £100 per machine, which added up across the whole government estate to around $400 million total.
400 million.
And this new consolidated infrastructure, it wouldn't just be for central government. It was designed to be used by police forces, local authorities, too.
Creating a unified foundation.
Exactly, a truly unified digital foundation. But beyond the money, like you said, it was about creating a more resilient, more secure, more standardized environment, which is absolutely critical when you're talking about national services.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked infrastructure, procurement. Let's shift to the information itself. The UK government also became a pioneer in making public data accessible. What did they do there, and what was really driving that?
Yeah, this raises that important point about transparency and public engagement, and it really was quite groundbreaking for its time.
What did they launch?
They created www.gov.uk, and it was an effort that had input from some real heavyweights like Sir Tim Berners-Lee and Professor Nigel Shadbolt.
The inventor of the web himself.
Indeed. The core idea was simple but powerful. Open up government data for anyone to reuse.
So the public could access it.
Yes. The site aimed to be a gateway into this huge wealth of government data, making it available for developers, say, to build new applications, or for researchers to analyze trends, or just for citizens to scrutinize what the government was doing.
So it wasn't just transparency for its own sake.
No, not entirely. It was also about empowering innovation and civic engagement,
Right.
recognizing that data held by the public sector is actually a public asset. It should be used.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk outsourcing. It's always a complex area, especially in the UK, with historically quite strong unions. How did Suffolk's leadership handle those relationships during this massive IT transformation? The workforce transitions must have been tricky.
Well, it's important to remember that outsourcing in the UK government wasn't new. Not at all. It had been going on for many years.
Right.
Driven by policies like compulsory competitive tendering, which started way back in the mid-1980s. that basically forced public services to seek competitive bids from the private sector.
Okay, so there was precedent.
Absolutely. And to manage the worker transitions when services moved between organizations, there were specific UK laws in place, often known as 2P. Yeah, transfer of undertakings, protection of employment. Basically, regulations designed to protect employees' terms and conditions when their job moves to a new employer, like an outsourcing vendor.
Crucial for smoothing things over.
Very crucial. And John Suffolk actually noted explicitly in the interview that he hadn't seen or heard of any union issues since he took on his role.
Which suggests the established processes and those legal frameworks were pretty effective.
It certainly seems that way. They provided a structure for managing those potentially difficult transitions.
Okay, that covers the domestic side. But what about the international angle? The common question about, say, companies from India getting these contracts. Was there a policy? Did they have to employ local UK workers, or was work often done offshore?
Yeah, that's a question that always comes up, but there was never really a one-size-fits-all policy on that.
No mandate either way.
No. The government actively encouraged contracts and services that were, well, appropriate for the specific organization. The actual details of the contract, including where the work physically happened, that was left to the individual departments and their chosen suppliers.
So it was a local decision.
Very much a local decision, based on what they judged was right for that particular organization's needs. I mean, Steria, for example, they did a lot of work for the UK government, and much of that was performed offshore.
And the driving principle was?
The bottom line was always supposed to be what was in the best interest of the organization. So balancing cost, capability, security, delivery, all those factors.
Okay. And did it matter if a company bid alone or as part of a group, a consortium?
No, the government didn't have a policy on that either. Their main focus was on the strengths and skills that each IT supplier brought to the table.
Right.
In fact, they actively tried to break down some of those enormous older contracts into smaller pieces, specifically to encourage more competition from a wider range of players.
Part of that App Store philosophy again.
Exactly. And they also looked at suppliers holistically across multiple projects to check for consistent performance. It was about fostering a dynamic, competitive ecosystem.
Makes sense. So beyond the UK's own strategies and suppliers, how proactive were they about sharing what they were learning? Did they share these IT best practices globally, maybe with countries like India you mentioned?
Oh, they were incredibly proactive about that. Really open.
How so?
The offer was made basically to every country, including India, but also extended more broadly to public and private sectors anywhere in the world.
An open invitation.
Pretty much. To share everything, their processes, their insights, what worked, what didn't, any relevant learnings they had gained.
What was the thinking behind that openness?
I think it was driven by the belief that, well, so many challenges are global now, and many organizations operate internationally. So there are huge opportunities to share best practices and learn from each other's digital transformation journeys.
Fostering a global community almost.
Yeah, exactly. Tackling common challenges together.
So we've just explored how John Suffolk's leadership, his strategic vision, really helped the UK government push through this profound IT transformation.
It really was profound.
Yeah, it wasn't just about making services a bit more efficient. It was about achieving really remarkable cost savings. You mentioned the projected £3 billion a year from rationalizing infrastructure.
And the $400 million from just the cloud consolidation alone.
Huge numbers.
Yeah.
And this was done through these innovative ideas like that application store model, which really shook up procurement.
Definitely.
And these bold commitments to open data, all while, navigating the tricky complexities of outsourcing and even fostering global collaboration.
Quite a list when you lay it all out.
It really is. So thinking about all of this intricate balance between the tech innovation, the massive financial savings, and ultimately delivering public services, what stands out to you as maybe the single most critical element? What does any large organization, public or private, absolutely need to get right if they want to successfully transform their IT and truly, genuinely do more with less in the world we live in today?